You've seen my guest today's work, and maybe you've seen a ton of it and don't even fully know. He is a stunt person. He is a fight coordinator. He's an actor, a director. He does a million things, and we're going to get right into it. Caleb Spillyards, welcome to Fish's Call Sheet.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm so excited. Your career has spanned just some of the most recognizable projects. I want to get to the beginning, though. Like, when did you know you wanted to be in entertainment, and what drew you to this?
So I kind of fell into entertainment in a weird way. So I was touring in a band at the time when I kind of got the acting bug. And we were actually touring through New York City, and our van broke down. And so we were basically stranded in this 2-bedroom apartment with some friends that were, nice enough to let us stay there. And this was before streaming and all that was like super popular. So you basically just relied on DVDs for entertainment. So after we went around New York for 2 days and ran out of money, we were essentially watching like every DVD you could think of in this place. So I was playing music and we were stuck there. And because we were watching these DVDs, I loved movies and stuff like that. And then when we went through the DVDs like 2 or 3 times, there was like nothing else to do while we were waiting on our van. It took like 3 weeks for our van to get fixed. And I started watching all the BTS on the DVDs, and I was just like super inspired by what they were doing. I was like super interested in the process. And so kind of like overnight, I was like, I think I want to try acting. Like, I think that would be really cool. Like this whole process is really neat. And so we had a contact with a guy who was doing, my friend Doug now, but he was doing the video production program at Winston-Salem College. And he had previously offered to shoot us a music video for free. And we didn't really get to line it up, but he made me think of him. And I was like, hey, do you ever do any like short films or anything? And then of course that was like what he does. He does thesis films for students and things like that. He's like, oh yeah, we could have you in this thing. And so he basically let me come down and be an actor in one of the projects he was doing. And then I just like was sold. I was like, this is like really fun. And just kind of like got obsessed with the process and things like that. So it was kind of a bridge between music and then acting is kind of what got me started. And then shortly after that happened, I left the band to just to go back home and kind of regroup because we were touring all the time. And then I more or less was like, I'm going to pursue this acting thing. And while waiting to like figure out if I was going to try to do LA or whatever, I started shooting stuff for YouTube. And like, that's how I started teaching myself how to film. And like that kind of snowballed, but that's more or less how I got into it.
Okay, now you moved into the stunts area, which is super particular. Like, it's an area that doesn't get enough love for me. We don't recognize performers enough from the stunt side. But you have to have a level of like toughness and physicality to you.
Yeah.
Where does that part of you come from?
So the whole story is before I was playing music, my first passion was gymnastics. So I grew up doing competitive gymnastics, and that like my goal from like 10 years old on was to go to the Olympics. That was like the goal. And so, slowly as I got older and, got interested in music, I just completely deviated from that. But after like I was pursuing acting for a while and kind of made some progress, I ran into some stunt guys and on a set and like started picking their brain a little bit. And they're like, oh, you need like a skill set. Usually it helps. Like you can start from scratch, but it's hard. Like, and I was like, oh, like what's skill sets? And they're like martial arts or dance or ballet or gymnastics. And I was like, oh, I was a competitive gymnast for 10 years, So I got into like that collegiate level. I was getting scouted for scholarships and stuff before I stopped doing gymnastics, but that was like my basis. So once I found out that was like a prerequisite you could have and that you didn't need to like go to school to be a stuntman, you just had to have like skills and connections and, kind of work your way up. I was like, oh, well, this makes total sense for me. And I was like a little bit disillusioned by acting at the time because that was kind of when social media following started to really kind of enter the mix of like, how many followers do you have? Like, what's your audience like? And it was just kind of like, I just want to try to be good at what I do and get a job. I don't want to be I don't want it to be about that.
Yeah. And the doors closed a lot.
Yeah.
Like it was really tough to get in.
Yeah. Yeah. So I just kind of like followed my nose a little bit and then just got started. But that's, my background was always gymnastics and then kind of used that to get my foot in the door and then that was good for like body control and just like, awareness of your body and how to move and pick things up quickly just based on that foundation. But then that snowballed into like martial arts and things like that. Cause that's really like my bread and butter has become martial arts based stuff. And it's all been built on the back of like the body control that I got from gymnastics, that foundation that I had.
What was your key event in gymnastics?
In gymnastics?
Yeah.
Well, there's two answers to that question. My favorite event was parallel bars.
Okay.
My best event was rings.
Okay.
Yeah.
Man, rings is tough.
Yeah, I hated it. But I was just like, my body taught, because I have a long torso and short legs. It's like strength to balance wise is like better for rings. So like I always excelled in rings, but rings is like, it's like doing a workout for your routine. It's like it's not fun.
No.
You know?
It's brutal.
Yeah.
Like people who don't know, that's a brutal event.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, when I first started doing gymnastics, it's funny because like I still like, this might have traumatized me, I guess, because I have such a clear memory of it. But I remember like one of my first days of gymnastics, just like practicing doing a support on rings, which is basically where you're just holding yourself and your hands are just doing this. So for like 3 weeks as like a 10-year-old, like all I did every day for rings was just hold the support as long as you can. So it's like crazy how much strength goes into just like holding yourself on rings.
And you have to be able to maintain those things before you can do anything else.
Right.
And it's the most boring, tedious, and painful thing because it's like, do this till you fail.
Yeah.
And then do it again.
Yeah, exactly.
And then come back and do it again.
Yeah. It's like inch by inch. It's like you barely make progress. Yeah, rings was hard. Like I feel like I could have even gone further with like rings and specialized and stuff if I wanted to, but it was just such a chore. Like I got into gymnastics because like I want to be a Ninja Turtle, which is funny because like that's what ultimately led to Stunts, is like this like weird subconscious foundation of being a little kid and being like, I want to be a ninja. Like that was the whole thing. So I would see like cheerleaders and other little gymnasts on the playground when I was like 6 years old, like doing flips. And I like taught myself how to do flips when I was like 7. And so then I kind of just was practicing on the playground as a kid. And then one day I was like 9 or, going on 10, I guess. And I like had some cool tricks. I like went to my mom and I said, hey, you should check this out. And I started doing flips in the yard. And she was like, what are you doing? Like, you're going to die. Yeah. So like, that's how I got into it. But like all that to say, the reason I got into gymnastics was because I wanted to like learn new stuff and do flips. And like, I think what got me out of it is at some point it becomes less about like I just always wanted to be on the gas. Like, Let me learn flips. Let me learn the next thing. I don't care if it looks good. Let me just try the next harder thing. And then with competitive gymnastics, it's like, all right, you get like a couple months of that. And then it's like, no, let's slow down and polish what you have and then make that your routine. And then you're just drilling the same thing over and over. And like monotony like that just kills me.
It's the thing we do with sports. It's the thing that I think kills young people in sports more than anything is we turn it into like hyper competitiveness and like polishing everything.
Yeah.
It's like part of this is like, you better feed me the part where I get to explore things.
Exactly.
That's what I came for.
Exactly.
Like I want to use this body and I want to explore and I want to play.
Yeah.
And so when you start taking that away and making it like so rigidly structured, it's like, yeah, I'm getting better at that skill, but I don't want to just do that skill.
Right.
And that's the hard part.
Yeah. No, for sure. I think you nailed it. Exploration is like, I think, the through line of what made me interested in gymnastics in the beginning. And I think the lack of exploration, the lack of ability to explore is kind of what burned me out of it, because it's just like you said, it's like I think my approach to almost everything I'm interested in is in some way a set of problems I'm trying to solve. Right. And like the satisfaction comes from like having a problem and then figuring it out and then moving on to the bigger problem. And it's like when you're a competitive gymnast, it's like you solve the problem for a couple months where you're like building the skills for the next year or the next routine you're going to build. But then after that, the problems are like, oh, you didn't point your toes. Oh, you didn't keep your legs together. Oh, your arms bent. Your angle on your handstand was bad. And it's like, all right, but what about the cool flip that I did? Like that was cool, right? Yeah. Like let's do more of that.
Well, I'm also thinking about like from a stunt performance standpoint, right?
Yeah.
Everyone is a problem-solving exercise because every set you go to. So I'm like, okay, this makes perfect sense to me, Caleb, why you're so good in that area. Because every time you go on set for a stunt, what people don't realize is it's scripted and they have things they want, but then there's the reality of what's going on and what happens, and every one of them feels like a problem-solving expedition to me.
For sure. Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think filmmaking in general is a big problem-solving experiment. It's like you're constantly doing that. But yeah, I mean, with stunts specifically, it's like you solve as many things as you can on the day, but it's inevitable, especially on a big movie with big action. It's like things change on the fly all the time. So it's like you're trying to figure out how to do this thing that you rehearsed 10 times a certain way. How do we fit it into this other new parameter that they've just given us, or like in a different amount of time or different amount of space or whatever it is?
What is the best part, especially being a stunt performer? What's the best part?
I mean, I think it's it's kind of what we've been talking about. I think for me, it is, what's funny is like the thing that gives me the most anxiety, but the thing that is the most fulfilling, that I love the most about it, is like solving massive problems under crazy amounts of stress is like very fun for me. Like, it's because I think I spend so much time in my head, like pre-solving problems and like trying to figure out what could happen that goes wrong. Like, I have a very anxious mind. But when you're in the situation, you just have to make decisions. And I think gymnastics probably helps me, like the pressure gets on and it's like, you can't think like, is this path better than this path? What should I do? It's like, no, we have to do this and this is why, and we're going to do that way. And we'll figure it out if we have another problem. Like, I really thrive in that environment. So I think my favorite part is probably being in an environment where like things are constantly changing, but like decisions have to be made under stress. I feel like when it feels like crazy stressful in the moment, but then afterwards it's just like so like gratifying. You're just like, oh, we just did that. That was cool. We figured it out. It's cool. I love that part of it.
Yeah, I think that's the part people don't realize is how much of the like just problem solving has to happen, because you can have it in theory. You can work it out in a space, but when you get on set, there's always new factors, new elements, something changed.
Oh, for sure.
And then you just have to solve it in the moment.
Yeah, or pivot.
Yeah, and pivot, change something, make it new.
Yeah.
What's the hardest part? What's the part that people don't realize?
For me, the hardest part is like, I hate even saying this because it sounds ungrateful, but it's like, a lot of your time is standing around.
Right. And
like, it doesn't matter if you're standing around, at a 9 to 5 or you're standing around on a $200 million film set. It's like standing around. So it's like, I struggle with big portions of my day happening where I'm just able to do nothing. It's like an existential thing for me. It's like, that's when I start thinking like, remember to be grateful for where you're at, because not a lot of people get to be here. But at the same time, it's like, man, but I've been literally doing nothing for 8 hours today. And for the last hour, I'll do something. And it's just like, I can't, in those moments, it's hard for me to get out of my head that like, that's just 8 hours of my life that just went away because I was just waiting around on a big film set, whether it's a big film set or not. And I think that is the hardest part for me, is just like burning time being not utilized, I think is very tough for me.
Part of this is the athlete thing to me. It's like, I want to go do the event,
right?
And I love the pressure part of this, right?
Totally.
It's one of the reasons why I love working with athletes in entertainment, because I feel like they're geared towards team, they're geared towards problem solving, and they like pressure or challenge.
Right.
The hard part is, especially for you, right, in a stunt environment, stand around all day, and then all of a sudden it's like, okay, we have 45 minutes to get this thing. We need you to do it now, and like, get it now.
Yeah, right.
And all of a sudden everybody's looking at you like, we either get this shot or we don't.
Right.
And all the pressure is like, it's like the ultimate like test of, can you do it and can you do it now?
Right. Yeah, it's funny. It's all, when you put it that way, it's almost like you recognize the duality of what I just said. So like the stressful moments that are high pressure that I like to be in are innate of the job, because of the fact that you stand around for 10 hours while they're getting acting and shots and different things. And then for the last hour, it's like, let's go. You got to go now, So it's like, you have to be into that, or you just sink or swim,
What does it feel like once you know you got the big shot? What does that feel like?
Are we sure?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's cool, man. I think, and maybe this is another like gymnastics-ism, but it's hard for me to ever feel like something is like good enough, It's always, there's always in my head, it's like, oh, you bent your legs, you didn't point your toes, you didn't stick the landing. It's like, oh, that was really good. It's like, that could have been better. But then the director's like, yeah, I love it, let's move on. And it's like, okay, well, I guess we love it,
Well, you can break things down into such tiny details. That's also the thing about knowing, right? When you know, you can look and kind of like just start to tear things into like sub pieces where it's like, okay, I could have done that turn better.
Yeah.
We could have done that land better, right? Oh, if I had known they were shooting or they were going to move the camera in that way, I would have tilted different.
Yeah.
And some of that you don't know until you're looking at it and you're like, oh, that's an interesting choice that they made.
Right.
Like I set it up for this, and then all of a sudden they drifted the camera or the camera moved.
Right.
And you're like, oh, well, I could have done that better, right?
Right.
And people don't understand from the outside because they don't see the technical side of it.
For sure.
There's so much like math, body control, like distance there's so many tricks to this.
Yeah.
Like you have to be a master of all of those at once.
I also find there's like two different experiences I have. Like I have the experience of being a performer, and then when I have the experience of being a fight coordinator, it's very different. Like when I'm fight coordinating, I'm much more objective because I'm not judging myself. I'm like judging is a bad word, but like I'm like critiquing or evaluating like our team and like how we're doing as a whole. So I can see it a lot more like a director would see it, where it's like, okay, this looks good. Whereas like a performer, myself included, will come up to monitor and go, like if the frame is this and there's 6 people, they're like watching it like this.
Yeah.
And they're just like watching their self. It's like all the real stuff's happening over here, but they're just like fixated on what they're doing. And so of course you're dissatisfied when you're like, oh, I shouldn't have waited that long, or I should have. And it's like, bro, people are looking over there. Like they're looking at, Tom Cruise or whatever. They're not looking at you over here, getting up off the floor. So it's like, it's weird because you have a different perspective of it. Whereas when I'm fight coordinating, it's a lot easier because I'm detached from I'm very self-critical with everything I do, but especially with performance. And so if I'm not performing, it's a lot easier for me to like take that like critical hat off and just go, okay, did we accomplish the goal of this scene or this shot? And it's like, yeah, we did it. It's a lot easier for me to go, sweet, that was sick. Like let's move on. We got it or whatever.
I want to talk about like big production television, right? I saw things like The Night Shift and 911. Mm-hmm. Talk about working on a big television production like that, where it's a big drama and but almost to me, you almost get less time in those scenarios.
What's funny is like, I actually don't have a ton of like long-term TV experience. Like the most of the TV stuff that I've done happened early in my career, like when I was still here in LA, and it was when I was like day playing a lot. So I would get to experience like what it was like for a day or 2 days or whatever. And I honestly, I'm trying to think, I don't think I've even spent more than a couple days in a row on a TV set. It's always been features. But from what I have done in features, yeah, it moves very fast in comparison. It's just like a lot smaller crews a lot of times in relation to like a big giant feature. But really similar in a lot of ways as well. But yeah, for as far as pace goes, I do feel like the pace is a lot faster. But I haven't really gotten to spend like a ton of time as like a multi-weeks or like on a multiple episodes of a TV show.
I know you did, and this is one of those examples, Hawkeye, right?
Yeah.
Which was a
That's
series.
True.
And
true.
You doubled Jeremy Renner. Uh-huh. Can you explain for people what that's like to know you are the number one person's double? Because you're going to be in all the big moments, and you have to make someone else essentially look good.
On a show like that, you have 2 doubles a lot of times. You have like a first unit double and a second unit double. So I came in actually a little later as the second unit double. But yeah, that was my first. Yeah, definitely my first, like, it's called 1Xing, like number 1 on the call sheet, 1X, first stunt guy, first stunt double, whatever. It's crazy, man. It's a lot of pressure, but also one of those things where it's like you have to remind yourself that like I'm here because I've earned this spot. Like you don't really luck into a spot like that, but it is crazy to be in a position where I was watching these Marvel movies in Arkansas, like stoked on Iron Man in like 2008 or whenever that came out. And just like, I would love to be in those movies. That'd be so sick. And then like, 10 years, 15 years later, I'm like doubling Jeremy Renner as Hawkeye on a second unit on
And you've
series.
done Spider-Man. You did, was it Red Notice?
Yeah.
I mean, like you've done Black Adam. You've done things in some huge, Blue Beetle.
Yeah.
What are some of the key like stunts that you were like, I'm so proud I was in that one, or that you can't believe that you got to do?
As a fight guy, a lot of times what you're involved in sequences more so than like, I mean, there are some things where it's like, oh, that's me, but it's more of like an ensemble thing, especially in like because I've done a lot of work on like fight team, like core fight teams, where it's like you and like 10 other dudes or females as well, like ladies, doing like putting together sequences for these films. And so a lot of times what happens is it's like this, they'll try to recycle you as much as possible. So it's like you're wearing masks or you're wearing like hoodies or whatever. And so what's fun is like to try to like pick out, I was in 7 scenes in this movie, and it's like, I did, 6 different spots in this sequence alone, like that's pretty cool. As far as like standout moments, I guess, I think I've had more like satisfaction from like the fight coordinating side of things in terms of that, because that's like the bigger contribution. I feel like I think early on it was like there was some stuff I did in Guardians of the Galaxy where I got to like do a big wire gag and like one of the bigger fight sequences. Like that's always a cool memory and like cool to see on screen, but you're more or less like doing what someone's asking you to do and that you've kind of hive-mindedly come up with. Whereas as a fight coordinator, you're overseeing creative contribution to the action in that sense. And so like I feel like ballerina and like things like that are the things I'm kind of most proud of. But yeah, as far as gags, I would have to think about it.
I think the thing about fight coordinating that people don't realize is I think there's a lot more freedom there, but I also think you're responsible essentially for a whole series of fights, right? And all the people involved, as you've described, right?
Yeah.
You're setting up this environment, you're working through this whole process. Take us through what that looks like in the beginning stages.
A lot of the times in the beginning, it starts very general. It's funny because the way that I approach fight coordinating for my own projects is very different than the way that I have to approach it for a film. Because a lot of times you have like little to no information, but you have like a vibe maybe, especially if it's like a superhero thing. You're like, okay, what do I know about Captain America? Like based on like lore and like, you know, like comics and stuff. Like you at least have some place to go on. So a lot of times in the beginning, it's like you set up a rehearsal space and you just start shooting like ideas and concepts that are just specifically movement based. Which is interesting because for me, like the way that I like to approach fight coordinating is very story driven when it comes to like when I do have all the pieces of the puzzle, like, and a director's mindset is always based in story. So it's interesting that in the beginning we have no story access whatsoever. And so it is sole movement. So a lot of times it's like creating vignettes or concepts around like certain characters or like vibe or like whatever like if it's a spy movie, it's a lot of gun work or like stuff like that. And then from there, you'll start to usually get like either a script or like start to get pages of like sequences of like, you know, this is a flagship fight in the thing. Like let's work on that first, like kind of biggest to smallest. And then more or less we start to get these pages and then we'll slowly start to get like, you know, blueprints and schematics of sets. And then we build this out in like a rehearsal space where we're, you know, have cardboard boxes and build like fake sets to where we can kind of like, if this is the room and we had a table between us, we have like cardboard boxes to represent that space so that we don't make a fight scene in the middle of a living room where there's a table, you know, that we couldn't physically do that. And then from there we shoot concepts the same way that you would shoot, like you would want to shoot a movie. We try to like, say like this is how it might look good, and it's like a pitch essentially, and then it's a ton of back and forth with like, here's what we did. Oh, this is not great. This is what we did.
Yeah, we love this. We don't like that.
Yeah, this is completely off the mark, or this is really good. Do more of that. Do less of this. You know, and then it becomes just like a complete like carving it out over time. And you know, it's funny. I always say that like it doesn't matter what you turn in; they will always have notes. It's like if you could like teleport into the future and like know what the final scene is and present that first, the director would go, let's not do that. Let's do this. It's like it's always going to change. But yeah, that's like kind of the majority of the process. And then like a lot of times you're doing that for the film, like throughout. Like on Jumanji, like we did that. We were like prepping, shooting. So it's like like we call it previs, but like some films you're prevising for like 3 months and you don't touch it again, and then it is what it is. And then other films it's like you previs and you shoot for 2 weeks, and then for a week they don't need the stunt team, so you're back in the rehearsal space, you're prevising the next fight. So it's like this kind of leapfrog of like previs shoot, prep shoot, and that happens till the end.
Yeah, I know you doubled Bob Odenkirk, right, for Nobody 2.
Yeah.
Those are such dramatically different people, from like Jeremy Renner to Bob Odenkirk, right?
Yeah.
Even the fighting style is so dramatically different.
Yeah, totally.
You have to be so conscious of your body in that space, but also their movement styles or the portions that they're going to come in to do to make all of this believable.
Yeah.
What is that like? And how much do you need to know about like the person? Do you need to know are there limitations of like physical movement?
Yeah.
And that kind of stuff? How much does that play in?
A lot. Yeah, I think on smart productions, you're always going to they want to see the actor, you know what I mean? Like they want the actor they're paying them to do their job and to perform and be on screen. And like very rarely superhero stuff, actually somewhat you get away with more because they're fulfilling, like with Bob or like Nobody, you're fulfilling a character, but it's like, I'm catering to the idea that Bob is like an older guy and he's like kind of used to be an assassin. Like that's kind of playing into the character. Whereas like Hawkeye is like a comic book superhero, and like Captain America, like these people are comic superheroes. So like you can bend the rules in terms of like all those people are very talented. Like Jeremy Renner's very talented, but like if we need to put a flip into a fight or something that he obviously is not going to do, it makes sense because Hawkeye can do that, you know? So you're catering to like the character in those zones versus like Nobody. It is more like what's realistic for this character to do based on not only the story, but like the actor, you know, being an older gentleman. And so like a lot of times if you're smart, although he is, just as an aside, he's a killer. Like he can do crazy stuff for you know, his position for sure. But like you're always trying to not box yourself in where you're either creating things that are going to either number one, have to change because they're not going to want to do it or be able to do it multiple times. Or number two, like, you're trying to like put cool things in for cool things' sake, as opposed to like respecting the story and respecting the character, which I think is a mistake. And then, but yeah, their physical abilities play in a ton, you know, when it comes to like the design, because again, like we want them to be in it as much as possible. And then for me to step in when he needs to get thrown down the stairs or something like that. Like he can do 90% of the fight all by himself. You can see his face the entire time. We don't have to cut away. And then when he gets thrown down the stairs, it's like, that's me. Or like when he goes off the boat, that's me. You know, it's like, that's the goal. And then of course there's a hybrid happens where it's like they flip to the other side and then they'll plug me in to do those sides of it where you're not having to see his face and all that stuff. And then as far as physicality goes, like that is an ongoing study. It's like constantly, luckily, like we get as a double and when you're on the team, like you get a ton of time to train them. Like you're training them, you're like helping them learn the stuff. And so like, while we're training him to do the movement, I'm noticing like, oh, he kind of turns his hip in this way, or like he kind of drops his hand when he does his punch. And it's like, so I can start to like replicate that and, you know, kind of work that into my training. So like, while he's rehearsing to perform it as best as he can, I'm rehearsing to perform it like he's doing it, you know?
Yeah. And it's a totally different skill. And there's a level of acting that has to happen there that I don't think we give stunt performers enough credit for, because you're matching somebody's movement and the way that they almost instinctively do things.
Yeah.
You're trying to match somebody else's instincts and kind of fit into that.
Yeah.
There's also the part of stunts that I think people underestimate, which is like, you're going to get hurt.
Yeah.
Everybody's going home with bruises.
Right.
Right? Like you can't fall down the stairs and not have there be some impact.
Right.
And we underestimate that so much. The difference is, I'm going to have a little bit of pain, or I'm going to be a little sore, I'm going to have a bruise, versus an injury.
Exactly.
From lack of planning. But things happen also on a set.
Yeah.
And I think we underestimate just how much you put your body on the line.
You can prep as much as possible. You can like practice and rehearse it as much as possible. But when you start shooting, pressure gets on, time changes, variables change, space changes, like you just have an acceptance of variabilities that are going to happen, and you rely on your team and your honestly yourself and your trust your ability to like protect yourself when things go weird, because they do. And I mean that's the whole part about, I think it's interesting because myself included, I think when stunt people start, they think like, oh, we are paid well because we're hurting ourselves. And it's like, no, you're paid well to be able to do it 10 times without hurting yourself. That's what you're paid well for. And so I think that's the differentiator as you grow as a stunt person. You realize like, it's like, oh, I'm not just chucking myself on the ground. Like there's a technique to do this properly to where I can like mitigate force as much as possible. And then like all the reps that I get for these years that I'm paying my dues pay off when a wire gag goes wonky and you have to like make a split decision to like protect your head or protect your side or protect your face or whatever. It's like that stuff is constant. So yeah, there's just an accepted risk that you have. That's just like, all right, well, let's do it.
Well, and part of this for me is your social media, right? because you've been taking people behind this and teaching people a better way to do a lot of these things through your social media.
Yeah.
What drew you to that, and what was it that you wanted to share?
I am a teacher at heart. Like, I think that I can't help but when I see people trying to learn something, I want to help them, especially if I have experience there. And I think I find myself doing that a lot on these fight teams. Like, if I'm fight coordinating and someone's having trouble with something, like, there's a lot of people that are just kind of like, it's not my problem. Like, I'm doing this, I have my own job. And it's like, I cannot help but like go over and be like, hey, like, I can, what have you tried it this way? Or like, what have you, it's like a part of what I like to do. And because I was already kind of starting to get busy on social media, and it was more about like filmmaking, which a lot of it still is, but like, I was like, man, I should start like, touching on fight stuff and like kind of let people into my worlds in that way a little bit. And it's kind of like done really well in that sense. And I think it's one of those things where there's like a lot of misconceptions, even in the stunt world, about like what makes a good fight scene. And I think that a lot of times, myself included, like, you go down this rabbit hole of like, what if he did this cool twisty flippy kick thing? And it's like, yeah, okay, but like, what's the audience going to remember? Like, especially if they've seen that. Like, I feel like there was a pocket of time where it was like, that was so new and innovative, where that's what you would talk about. But now it's like things have been done so often that it's like, it always comes back to like, what's the story we're telling? Like, why does this mean something? Like, does the flippy thing add to the story, or is it just like something flashy? There's always, room for that. I just think that the thing that I've focused on most recently is like, how can we have cool, compelling choreography that's also story driven, that makes sense and like keeps people like in the hypnosis that is like watching a movie,
Yeah, and I think if people are just fighting, I think we've all become numb to just the amount of fighting, right?
For sure.
But if there's a purpose and it's motivated by something, and the character has to get to that thing. You know that they're trying to protect this thing, so that some of these movements start to make more sense and they have a meaning, or like, okay, they took some punishment in this scenario to protect someone else. Yeah. That has way more meaning than, okay, he just got beat up by a bigger, stronger, whatever.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, stakes, for sure. Like, it's all about stakes. Like, I always use the analogy of like the briefcase analogy, which is like, make the fight about a briefcase, like not about a briefcase, but you know what I'm saying? Like, it's like a micro goal.
Right.
It's like, and it always reminds me of, I can't remember which Mission Impossible it is, maybe 5 or 6, where they're in the hotel. I always think about the scene because the movements are cool, but they're trying to keep this briefcase, and it's like everything is like the brief goes flying. We're fighting each other, boom, 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 and then the briefcase goes flying. Like, why would we stay fighting? We're gonna like go, oh, it's over there now. Let me, it's about this thing. It's not about like our combat. And I think that a lot of sequences that miss the mark, are like rooted in like, what do these characters do when the goal changes? It's like, they shouldn't keep fighting. They should like go where the goal is. Go to the briefcase, like get the codes, get the thing, like, And so to your point, I think that it is a lot more captivating when like we're the audience going like, oh, he almost got it. Oh, it fell down the thing. Oh my God, now it just rolled down the stairs. Now he's sliding down the building to grab it because it's about to fall off the edge. Like, it's like, it's instantly more interesting than like, how many cool karate moves can this guy do, and how many ways can this guy block it, and I feel like as action makers, stunt people get lost a lot in the sauce of like, what's the coolest move we can come up with? And it's like the audience does not care about that. They care about like, and I always say that, and sometimes I get heat for it. I would say 90% of the people are like, I agree with this. And most of the people that are agreeing with it are general audience members. And the 10% that aren't are stunt people that are just like, but I want to do my cool moves. And it's like, you can still do your cool moves, just like root them in something that makes sense with like what's happening. And then you can have both.
Well, that's the filmmaker in you, I think. Like, and that's part of being a fight coordinator. I always look at fight coordinators make great directors. Yeah. Because they had to put together not just a sequence, but they had to understand how the audience was going to experience that. Yeah. What are some of the ones where you're like, I'm so proud I was in that? And then what is something that you wish you could go back to now that you know what you know now that you did before?
There's kind of two answers to that question. I think ballerina is always going to have a special place in my heart because I was so scared to do that. I was so scared to make the leap and and fight coordinate in general, much less like fight coordinate a movie in the John Wick universe.
Such a
I mean, first,
for stunts, that's as big as it gets.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, do you want to do this for your first fight coordinating job ever? And it's like, it's like, I do. Okay.
Yeah, you can't say no.
All right. Yeah, right.
But at the same time, you're like, you didn't jump in the deep end, you jumped in the middle of the ocean.
That's a big old bite that you just took off. Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. There's been a handful of times where I've entertained, what if I had said no to that? What my life would be different. It would be, and not necessarily from a success standpoint, but just I would be a different person because of how much I grew on that set and just personal mental barriers that were broken just by saying yes to that project is the most transformative thing probably in my career was being completely scared to death and then going, okay, let's try it. And then coming out of it on the other side. So I think from that standpoint, that's probably my most proud that I've been of something I've done. Thunderbolts was great as well on a different scale. But it was it was kind of what's the way to word that? It was the reinforcement that I could do it, Ballerina was the testing ground and Thunderbolts was all right, yeah, but was that a fluke or could you do it again? And it was okay, I know what I'm doing, because there's always this insecurity of oh, maybe I got lucky. Maybe maybe it was a perfect scenario. And I don't know if I could repeat that, So I think those things in tandem were cool because it was all right, this was the big bite you took off. And then this was okay, I can do that again. It's not necessarily a project I wish I could go back to. I think that if I could go back to an earlier point in my career and even life really with the knowledge that I have now in terms of taking risks, I would. Because, or not necessarily that I would. I there's not a lot I would change because I think it's all kind of happens how it should. But I would have benefited from the mental, or from the knowing of big risks are just something you just have to do. It's never going to feel good. I spent a lot of time in the beginning not moving to LA and then not going to New Orleans. I went to New Orleans and LA, but it took me 2 years of just for no reason, just dragging my feet other than just fear. And I think that's always been a little bit of a through line for me is got to LA and I didn't start pursuing stunts right away because I was worried about how, I don't know, I was scared, I was nervous. And then first time I got on a big fight team, it's I was nervous and I didn't do certain things. I was always kind of playing small in a way. And then over time, it's just gotten to a place, even to this day, with the social media and the content and stuff and working with bigger brands Solo, it's I constantly have to fight the urge to say no to stuff because I'm just afraid of it. And I'm just oh, I don't feel ready. What if it messes up, So I think looking back, I just, if I could have the mind that I have now in terms of no, this is just being uncomfortable is a feature, not a flaw, I think I would be beneficial early on.
I think for all of us in this business, I started as a baby, right? I started at 6 years old.
Yeah.
I think that's part of it is understanding no, just go.
Yeah.
Right? Because what you don't know, there's only one way you're going to learn it, which is to actually go through it.
Yeah.
And as long as you're working with good people, they're not going to really let you fail.
Right.
They're going to kind of steer and reshape, and you're going to pick up things along the way.
Yeah.
But if you never take any big swings, you can't take that chance.
Yeah.
Right? And I was always thinking to myself, I'm so glad I took that risk because I don't know when the next one would have come. Like you said with Ballerina, right? That's a huge, there are a lot of people who would not have taken that risk.
Right.
Right? But it's also such a beautiful opportunity that you earned.
Yeah.
You earned that trust.
Yeah.
What would you tell young performers coming into this if you could give kind of a cheat sheet for them?
I think the thing that I always tell people, especially people that are starting out now, is be a Swiss Army knife. Be someone who you can plug into different situations, not just performance-wise, across the board, and be able to solve problems. I think that the biggest advantage that I've had from the beginning has been a Swiss Army knifeness to me. Is I was on a fight team, I could perform. And then I was like, oh, you can shoot? And I was like, oh yeah, I've been shooting for 15 years. And it's like, oh, we need someone to shoot like now. Can you edit? It's like, yeah, I can edit. Can you do VFX? Yeah, I can do that too. Can you do that? You know, so it's like, that is 100% what got me on the fast track. And so my thing is always like diversify your skill set. And I don't mean to like dilute anything, but it's like try to become a hitter in every aspect of like what you could be asked to do. And then like also try to keep like a global perspective of like what we're trying to accomplish, because what that and learn as much as you can about making a film, because like a lot of times my strengths are anticipating problems that a lot of people aren't even knowing that are going to happen. It's like when you've made enough things from start to finish on your own, which I attribute to like music videos for me. It's like me and a buddy, we went in a long time ago on a bunch of gear like 15 years ago, and that was what we did. We just shot music videos, and it's like 2-man band, the whole thing, and from the beginning to the end, editing the whole nine. And it's like it's just like the biggest proving ground, because you're having to turn around like essentially like a little short film that's to music in like no time. And if and when you mess up and have problems, you have to solve them in order to get this product done. And so like I think that's aided me a lot in terms of like filmmaking and knowing the process, where it's like you can see an issue that's going to be a bigger problem if someone doesn't say anything and go, hey, this is happening, and like I just want you to know that like if we're trying to tie that to this, it's not going to be, and they're like, oh yeah, thank you. You know, so it's like, those are the little instances that like make people go, we need to call that dude back. Like we need to have him on the team. Like that's valuable. And so I would say like, it's a multiple choice where it's like diversify yourself, become a Swiss Army knife, and then just understand as much about the process as you can to where you can like have a holistic understanding of what's going on.
That's fantastic. Yeah. I'm a huge proponent of like, have multiple skills, learn multiple things, and then become a student of the whole overarching thing. Yeah. Because I think there is a level of this that no one knows everything. Yeah. But you become a problem solver, and problem solvers are more and more valuable. Yeah. And those are the people you want to work with. Yeah. You want to work with easy people.
Yeah. And don't be a dick.
Yeah. Don't be a dick.
Yeah. That's actually a huge one. So I talk to people about that too. I'm like, man, you got to spend 6 months on a set with somebody, or on 10 hours, 12 hours a day. Like if you can have the cream of the crop, 10 out of 10 performer, but he's kind of a dickhead, and then you can have a 7 out of 10 or 8 out of 10 that's like pleasant to be around, makes your life fun. It's like you're going to choose that person every time. Yeah. So it's like there's something to be said about that. And then also like you just reminded me of something. It's like humility goes a long way in terms of like, hey, I don't know how to do this. I'm not comfortable with this. Like, can you help me learn this? Like, can you, like, that activates the teacher in me to where I'm like, of course I can help you. Like, I'm so glad you asked, because I think especially as it relates to stunt people is like, there's like it's like a weird culture where it's like, you have to be confident in what you're doing, and you kind of don't want to show the chink in your armor, but you have to like also be safe. And like when you ask questions and talk about things you're worried about as like a department head, if I'm like a fight coordinator, it makes me feel better about you, because I know that you're going to let me know if you have a limitation. Whereas there are some people that like, and you see them from a mile away. It's like you could see someone that's like, oh, they're not really comfortable with that. And then it's like, hey, can you do that again? And they're like, yep. And it's just like, okay, no, you're not doing that. Like that's dangerous, you know? And it's like so many people are yes men in terms of like, yeah, I'll do whatever you want. It goes back to that thing about like, oh, we're paid well because we hurt ourselves. It's like, no, like you need to, you know.
Yeah, the goal is for everybody to come home healthy.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Like, yeah, and honestly, if you get tweaked, it's like, once it's like, you're good, all right, well, now we're pissed at you because like you shouldn't have done that. Now it's like a problem.
There's a school of thought in our business where it's like, just tell them you can do it. And it's like, that's a terrible idea. Right. Because everyone's going to find out. Yes. Right? Yeah. And the place you don't want them to find out is in the middle of a 12-hour day. Yep. Where now everyone is panic-stricken and trying to figure out how are we going to make this thing work, because that thing you said you could do, yeah, you can't do that thing.
Yeah, you will be exposed. You will be exposed. And it's funny because there is a fine line. How long do you have to do it? 6 months? Well, I can do it. Doesn't shoot for 3 months?
I can learn some of it.
I can learn it, yeah. And it's like, I think that's the better way to lead. Right. Is like, I could learn that. I could learn that.
I've done some of this, but I'd like to refresh.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
For sure.
Because that's the other part. I actually want to ask you this question when it comes to like actors, right? Because more and more actors, the leads want to do the stunts. Mm-hmm. And the production is like, under no circumstances do we want them to do the stunts.
Yeah.
That's got to be such a fine line for you and such an interesting fight, especially being the fight coordinator.
Yeah.
Where do you fall in that? And like, how much do you have to just tell people sometimes, like, this one isn't for you, or like, this is just a bad idea for you to do that?
It is a delicate dance, you know, and I think that it changes over time. I think that a lot of actors come in and they are like, I want to do it all. And then you put them through their paces and they're like, I don't want to do it all anymore, you know, because it is hard. It's very hard. And you get some people in there that are all about it, you know, will crush it. I never try to make decisions based on like day one evaluations, because I've seen such growth happen in people. And if they really want to do something, I am for them. I want them to do what they want to do, you know, like and maybe that's like having been on the acting side of it, where it's like, I can put myself in that position. Like if I were acting in a thing, I'm like, no, I'm doing that. Like I could do that. I think that where it logically makes sense to draw the line is when it comes to things that aren't performance related in terms of like choreography, like getting thrown down the stairs. It's like there's no reasonable reason for you to do that. And truth be told, like they don't want to do that, you know? And it's a little bit of a misnomer when it's like, oh, actors want to do their own stunts. It's like they want to do the fights, which are stunts, but that's not the bulk of like what a stunt is. Like a lot of times if you're doing a fight, it's like we're doing the fight. Now we're going to set up for the stunt, because the stunt is like, dude's going to go through the wall, you know? So it's a little bit of a misnomer in that sense, but like, you know, fights are stunts. But like I would say you pretty reasonably get people that are like, oh, I can do a lot of the fight moves and like look cool, and then you'll do the stair thing, and it's like, yeah, it's okay, I'm good with that, you know. So it's less of a fight. Occasionally you do get people that just, you know, they want to do it really bad, but maybe they got two left feet and, you know, they just can't get the hang of like the choreo. And so a lot of times it's like you just try to prepare them as much as possible, and then have a conversation with the director and keep them, you know, in the know of like what's going to happen. And they usually have that conversation of like, hey, like we just want to make sure you look good. And ultimately the conversations all boil down to like, we want to do what's going to make you look like a rock star. The last thing I want is for you to do something that makes you look silly or foolish because you just, you know, you haven't had enough time with it. And then, you know, it's there forever.
Yes,
you know?
It lives on footage forever.
Yeah. So like that's a little Jedi mind trick where it's kind of like, not as much of a Jedi mind trick, but it's kind of like a real talk where it's like, I want you to look good, man. And I don't want you to feel, you know, embarrassed about this or whatever. And most people are receptive, you know, and they're like, all right, well, you know, let me try it. And if it looks like shit, like we'll change it. And it's like, all right. And then you can show it to them, like, and they're like, okay, it kind of looks bad. Or I could do it. It's like, yeah, you can. You know, you get surprised all the time. Briefly, the funny story is when I was on this little indie in Mississippi called The System, Jeremy Piven, I was doubling Jeremy Piven, and he was very gung-ho about doing all of the fight. And we were like, hey, like, no. And this was like a small movie. So it was like, we did not have like the prep time. We didn't have weeks of rehearsal to like get him to do, you know, it was very much like, this is the fight, learn it. This is the fight, learn it. And he was like, well, no, I'm going to do it. And the coordinator was like, no, okay, Caleb's going to do it. Like, it's kind of gnarly. And like, you got to go up against the wall. And he's like, oh, well, I could do that. And then David just goes, can you just show him what you're going to do? And I just go, boom, and smash the wall and smash the ground. He goes, okay, he can do it.
Yeah.
And it was just like, you know, again, it's like fighting is stunts, but it's like usually the stunts are wrapped into the fight scene and like they don't want to do the stunts, you know, the real stunts.
All right, perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think that's the truth is everybody's like, oh yeah, I got it. And then if you really look at a really good stunt person,
yeah,
like if I can pass on that, I don't, or like somebody else is better suited to that, right? Like that's somebody else's skill set.
Yeah.
And I don't care who you are. The second, third, or fourth time you got to go down a set of stairs.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's not fun.
Oh, for sure.
Like you're not doing it because it's fun. You're doing it because the script needs it and the story needs it. But like that's not fun for anybody.
Oh yeah. No, I can't tell you how many times I've done something and just been like, oh, I hope that's the last one we got to do with that.
Like I hope they got it.
We're going again. It's like, okay, we're going again.
Or the second time I'm like, okay, we're going again, and I want to know, what are we going again for? Right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Like just so I know, is there something I can do or adjust, or like is this something that I can make bigger one time so I don't have to do it 4 times?
Yeah, exactly. No, that's so true. Yeah, and I think too, it's like once you start going a few times, tension gets pretty high in the room, because it's like, especially if somebody's wrecking themselves, it's like, what was it? Oh, it was a focus thing. And it's like, everybody kind of looks at the focus puller, and it's like, what was it? Oh, it was a camera thing. And it's like, it's like, people know like someone's body is getting thrashed, So it's like it's funny because like it's like worst case scenario for a performer is that it's their problem. Like it's like, oh, I messed up, so we're going again. I'm wasting all this money and whatever. Like that's our nightmare. The opposite is like when the performer's crushing it, and then like but it's like technical, or like something weird happened, or somebody messed up, or it's like it gets tense, because it's like someone's hurting because little things that shouldn't have happened happen, and coordinators start getting not happy, and stuff like that. But worse. Even then I would rather it be someone else's fault than my fault if we're going again. And I'm doing a gag.
I want to do it as few times as possible with the maximum positive impact.
Yeah,
I want
for
people
sure.
to be like, after a take, just be like, whoa, like we got it.
Yeah, we don't need to do that again.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, it's my favorite is when people are like, oh, no, we got it. And my favorite is you kill it on the first one and people are like, I think we should do one for safety,
right.
But we totally have it, right? Because that's the best feeling in the world.
Yeah,
it's like, oh, okay, well, then I got nothing to lose here.
Yeah. Well, a lot of times you get a better one then.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's like you up the ante somehow. It's like, that was great. Let's just try one again, and just in case we get in the editing room and something was weird, and it's like, and there's no pressure, and then it just like sails, Yeah. It's so true. Yeah.
All right. What's the thing that you first look for on a call sheet?
How many of my friends are working?
Yeah.
Yeah. Usually.
Okay. What's the last thing you want to see on a call sheet?
Maybe an actor I don't want to work with.
Somebody who has a jerk. Somebody,
probably.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because it's the worst. Because you go.
Yeah. Or not even an actor, just someone I don't want to work with. There's plenty of stunt people where I'm like, ugh, I got to deal with this person.
Look, unhappy people just make the process difficult.
Yeah.
And there's no getting around it.
Yeah. Also, a night shoot is what I don't want to see, personally.
I tell people as a writer, the moment you write exterior night, you just added just hours to people's days, right? So that's like the thing. Like I used to tell young writers, or low budget writers, when you're trying to like just shoot something yourself, I'm like, do not write exterior night.
Yeah.
Because just the lighting, the features, like, and everybody outside of the business doesn't understand how big that is. But it's like you just added multiple hours and a lot of money.
Yeah, right.
And does it need to be exterior night?
Yeah, right. Right, exterior day for night.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, do it in a house where you can do between the windows and,
All right, what is your favorite thing to see at craft services?
Oh, man, lately it's been Uncrustables.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Always a nice coffee machine and Uncrustables lately.
Okay.
Yep, and lemon LaCroix are my go-tos.
Very interesting.
Yeah. And then Topo Chico, you saw out there I have a Topo Chico. If they've got it, that's like the premium, but it's rare. They're expensive. So.
Yeah. Okay, what do you not want to see at craft services?
Uncrustables.
Because you're going to eat a bunch of them? Yeah.
Honestly, sometimes I'm like, oh, they have these. Give me 6. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, that and just like, I don't know. I'm not like a big like cold veggies guys, like carrots and celery and stuff like that. I'm just kind of like, whatever. I could leave it.
I'm okay with them, but they just live out there forever.
Yeah, they do.
And like it's like they just live out there until somebody either throws them away or takes them home. And I'm just like, I don't know how long that's been there. Like that carrot is now kind of gray on the outside. Like, that's not my thing. Yeah,
I would say I wanted to say like tuna is a bad choice, but occasionally I'll do like a tuna salad and some crackers if it's like fresh.
Right.
But yeah, that's one of those that like you gotta get that out of there quick. It's like it should be there for like half hour and then you just gotta get it out of there. It's just like sits there forever and it's nasty.
All right, Caleb, how do you define success?
I think that success is being able to pursue something daily that fulfills you. Like I don't think it's like an end point. I think for a long time, and with other people, I see this as well, is like, when this happens, I'll be stoked. When I get to this point, that's when I'll be happy. And it's like, as someone who has been fortunate enough to reach some cool, ledges to look down and go, "Oh, this is cool." It's like a fleeting thing. It's like you get there and you go, "Oh, cool, this is neat," and then it's on to the next thing. And it's like, but the process of doing that, like I hate to sound cliche and be like, it's about the journey, but like, it's not that it's just about the journey. It's about like the growth that's happening through that and the ability to do it with something you genuinely are like passionate about and that you love. I think that is success. Like, I think that if you wake up and you're like, your mind is going about like what thing you're working on and it makes you excited, like you're already successful, in my opinion. I think that achievements in anything are kind of like a six-pack. It's like, to get a six-pack, you got to go to the gym and you got to diet. So by the time you get a six-pack, it's not like, I got a crazy six-pack. It's like, of course I have a six-pack. Like, I've been busting my ass to have a six-pack. So by the time you get your first movie role, or the time you, like, it's exciting, but it feels like a natural evolution of the work and the events that you've done and that you've put in, to where it's not like you flip a switch and all of a sudden you're successful and you get to like have this parade. It's like, I've gotten here on my blood, sweat, and tears, and so I think that to be fixated on a specific arrival is a disappointing, thing if that's what you think is going to make you happy and successful. And I think it's much more about, again, back to the problem solving, like how am I growing on the day-to-day through something I'm passionate about? I think that's success for me.
Yeah, I normally ask people how they're doing on their definition, but you kind of answered that. So I actually want to flip this for a moment with you, which is, I want to know what the dream is now. What does that look like now?
The dream now, that's a big question. The dream now, I think, is like, I am so deep into this content game that the dream now is to be able to surpass the security that I've gotten from my job with my content, like with being a solo creator, and it doesn't mean that I always have to be solo. I just mean, like, I think there's a little bit of like insecurity that happens when something like a strike goes down and like AI and like all that. And then like I went through cancer in 2020 and had to like drain my savings to get treatments and stuff. And so like there's a part of that, I think, those fears that drive me to be like, I cannot rely on other external things to like pad my ability to survive. So it's like double-edged. It's like one side of it is like, I need to be able to generate the finances that I want to generate solely on my own through my own creativity for a survival mechanism. But then the other side of it is that problem solving of like, wouldn't it be neat if I could generate my living with my creativity, So that's the dream right now, is like just to gain like full independence from any outside source, to be able to like finance my life essentially, but to be able to do it with my ideas and my creativity and like my ability to like turn on my camera and start talking and like help people and all that stuff. And just to be able to do that full time, like, and to not stress about it. So yeah, that's the current dream. I think in some ways it's a pivot away from the film industry for now. I think I don't know that that's going to happen anytime soon. Like, it's like, I'm not saying right now, like I'm done and I'm doing that full time, but like when it becomes a realistic possibility, I think that's probably where it's headed. Yeah.
I think there's an incredible beauty and power in being able to control your own destiny and continue to make creativity your passion in your life, right? And to be able to do that on your own terms, I think is what every creative is looking for.
Yeah.
So I totally get that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think my biggest fear is the opposite of that. You know, my biggest fear is that like AI takes over and there's nothing left to go around and creative jobs are done and you got to make a living doing something you don't want to do. You know, like that's my biggest fear is like having to like struggle to get by. Basically, my life before film. It's like, you know, working at a cell phone store, selling cell phones for someone else and retail and making good money doing it, but just being like, oh, what am I doing with my life? You know, being very unfulfilled. I think that's my biggest fear. And like the opposite of that is like just creativity all the time and like helping other people and that's the other thing too. I think is something else that is like the through line of what I do is like I feel like I've been very fortunate for whatever reason, you know, being a younger brother or whatever, and you know, but having this like rebellious mindset of like, no, I can do that. Like I can figure that out. Like why, if they can do that, I can do that. And like I've always been fortunate enough to kind of innately have that in me, and I think it's what's led me to where I am. And so like using my own platform to be able to like try to bring that out of other people is also like part of the bigger part of the mission.
I love that.
Yeah.
I've worked enough. I tell people all the time, I took enough really quote unquote stable jobs that turned out to not be stable.
Yeah.
And I worked a bunch of stuff where I was like, there was nothing bad about the job, but I was miserable in it.
Right.
Like that's not what I'm designed for or built for.
Yeah.
Can I do it? Yes.
Yeah.
Do I want to end up in that again?
Yeah.
Never.
Yeah.
And I think there's something about that when you know, it drives you in a way nothing else can.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And I think once you've had a taste of it, it's hard to go back. It's like I like the band that I toured with before getting into acting, we had some like moderate success, but we never made like real money. Like we made enough money to like fund our touring. That's it. But not lavishly. Like we slept in the van a lot. We slept at people's houses. Like we slummed it for like, you know, for the touring. But like we could afford gas and we could get a hotel room every now and then and do this and that. But I think the biggest gift beyond just the experience that it gave me was like the biggest gift and like kind of the curse is like, oh, you can just decide to go tour around with your friends and go, you know, more or less dick around in the country for however long and do what you want. And no one can really tell you not to, you know, you're an adult. So it's like when you go back, like after that, I went back to retail, back to 9 to 5. And I was just like, I'm ruined. I'm ruined now. Yeah. Like I cannot do this. So yeah, I don't really know where I was going with that, but yeah, just like once you've been exposed to that, it's hard to like. So yeah, going back to like if you know everything kind of changes or whatever, and you know it's like I don't want to be in the avalanche of that happening. Like I want to be out of that to the point where like I'm still able to do and just be creative and have it fund my life essentially. Yeah.
All right. What's one thing you want on every set?
Uncrustables. No.
That works.
No, coffee for sure. Okay. Yeah, coffee for sure. I think that's like my first and last stop always is just coffee.
Okay, what's the one thing you would eliminate from every set if you could?
Bad vibes.
Yeah.
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 Bad vibe, like bad vibes, and also which is a bad vibe in my opinion, but just like unnecessary stress. By that I mean like neurotic stress. You know, it's like there's some ADs out there, not just ADs, but there's some ADs out there that's like, bro, we're making a movie, dude. Like, relax. We're going to get it. It's all good. You don't got to scream at people, you know? So I think that's probably a big one too.
I've had to have that conversation a few times, especially it's the one place where when you're really lucky to end up high on a call sheet.
Oh, yeah.
Because you get to set the tone.
For sure.
And there's been a number of times where I'm like, okay, somebody is just kind of losing it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm going to go have that conversation.
Yeah.
And people are like, oh, no, we'll do it. And I'm like, if you were going to do it, you already done it.
Right.
Like, no, now it's mine.
Yeah.
Because at this point, it's my set.
Bless you.
And then I'm like, I'll pull people aside and I'm like, with all the respect in the world, you cannot talk to everybody else like that.
Yeah.
Or like, if you're going to choose somebody out, go to a different channel. Don't do it in front of the whole world.
Yeah.
Like, don't do it in front of everybody. Like, pull that person aside, have some respect, and like, let's do this the right way.
Yeah.
And I tell people all the time, like, how we treat people and I will say, on my set, how we're going to treat people, I have a certain standard that we're going to live by.
For sure.
And I get it. If it's not your thing, maybe this isn't the right match or the right fit for you. But I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not lowering my standards for how we treat each other.
Yeah. No, that's great. Yeah, I think that is a challenge. Being like, stunts is interesting because like it's like you're technically like a cast, but you are not you're a cast crew person. It's like you're very much like a cast member in certain ways, but like you ain't going to the AD and saying, "Hey, bro, like what's your problem?" Like you're not doing that.
Well, you're not in that position.
Yeah. Yeah.
Talk about that for a minute because I it's one of my struggles in this business, always has been, because I've worked on both sides. It's very interesting because there are a lot of categories where you have some kind of status or awareness, but at the same time, there's nothing where you can assert any kind of authority to make things better.
Right. Yeah, globally, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, it's like stunts is a strange category because you function like a crew person in the sense of like team effort. I'm not an individual. I'm a part of this unit. Like we're here to do something together. It's not about me, you know, like I'll move the pads, I'll clean the pads, I'll put the pads in the truck. Like it's like very different. If there's something to be done on set, like I'm not in my trailer, I'm not in the honey wagon, like I'm working, which is very much a crew mentality, which is awesome. And then, but there is some like, you're a performer. So there's a lot of like, hey, can I get you your breakfast? Can I do this thing for you? Like, are you cold? Can I get you a coat? Like, it's like, it kind of blurs the line between cast. Whereas like when I've been an actor on sets, it's like, obviously you're not like doing any heavy lifting or doing any kind of labor type stuff. It's like, you're not on set till they need you unless you just want to be there. You know, it's like, it's very weird. It's very weird. And so sometimes it's hard to like know your place. In terms of like, you know, taking the temperature in the room when it comes to somebody that's being difficult. And there certainly are, it's weird because you're in like this hierarchical place where like certain people you can certainly correct if they're not being nice. Like where, you know, if there's like an assistant or a PA or somebody or whatever being not nice, you can call them out and it's very normal. Or you can at least talk to their superior and be like, yo, dude, this is not cool. But when it comes to like the higher ups, like you're not having that conversation, you know?
It's a very interesting thing. I have this I am the one actor who never spends any time in his trailer.
Yeah.
I love to be on set.
I'm the same way, yeah.
And I'm like, I'm going to live on set. I don't see a big hierarchy difference between me and the crew.
Yeah.
I feel like they come in and they work a lot harder in a lot of ways. I feel super privileged when I'm on the acting side of things.
Yeah.
Probably because I've drug Socko cable for 5 miles and done stuff that like only crew people understand.
Yeah,
it
gives you perspective.
It's the most miserable, like, and then somebody unplugs something and I have to go retrace the 5 miles to try and figure out which one of these cables.
Yeah.
Like, and when you've done those things, I think it changes your DNA a little bit.
Yeah.
But I think that is even more impressed upon me being an actor, especially when I get to be a lead, is like, okay, I'm going to make sure people don't get mistreated in this environment.
Yeah.
It's part of the reason that I'm motivated to do this podcast is I want to highlight how many amazing people are, because we don't give enough credit and crew members don't get enough love because they make this thing possible.
Yeah.
Okay, what is the best gift that you've ever gotten from a project?
Like physical gift?
I didn't define it on purpose.
Oh, okay, sure. What I said earlier about Ballerina, it's like just the confidence and the shift that came out of that project from a transformative perspective is unparalleled for me, you know, as a person. Like, I just think that's so massive. And then ironically, if we're talking physical, it's probably the same project, is at the end of that show, one of the last sequences we did was the big fight in the cabin where she had this katana, and they had this like $10,000 custom katana. And of course I wasn't going to have that, but I talked to the prop department who had these like photorealistic rubber replicas that we were using for stunts. And I was like, hey, what are you guys going to do with those when you're done? And they're like, oh, what do you mean? And I was like, could I have one of those? And they're like, yep. And I was like, sick. So I got it. So it's like my wrap gift to myself was like one of the ballerina samurai swords. It's like in my studio at home. Yeah, so that's probably the coolest physical item.
Okay, what is the way you want the people who worked with you to remember you?
From a personal standpoint, I think a hardworking person that's like extremely pleasant to be around. And then from a work point of view, like a linchpin. Mm-hmm. Like someone's like, I don't know how we would have done that without him there. Like that's kind of what I always want to be. I always try to be like that person that fills in the gaps of like, how could we have pulled that off if you weren't there, you know? So I think that's probably the way I want to be perceived.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay, what's the legacy you want your loved ones to take from your life?
Your only limitation is yourself and your own mind. And I think that's like the core of everything. And so I think legacy-wise, it would be like someone who didn't respect the programming, you know, obey the programming that was ingrained probably. And like loved people in the process, you know. I think that's probably it.
I think it's beautiful.
Thanks.
Caleb, I love so much of what you shared. Yeah. And I think you helped a lot of people. You know, you talked before about teaching and sharing what you do and who you are. And I hope people go to all of your social media and check it out and kind of become investors in that journey, because I think you're sharing a lot of things with people.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping the dream is a lot closer than you think.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that I get to watch and maybe help be a small part of that.
Yeah, for sure.
So thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This is awesome.
Absolutely.
Yeah.